Thank you so much, President von der Leyen, for those inspiring words. I now have the pleasure to invite Kata Tüttő, President of the Committee of the Regions, to address you.
President von der Leyen, President Metsola, drága Péterfi Attila, my dear fellow crisis and change managers, this is our week. This is the week of cities and regions. This is the week about us, what we are doing, the local leaders on the ground. And the Covenant of Mayors is a beautiful story of us, of the local leaders. I say it's a beautiful story personally, and it's also symbolically beautiful. Okay, how is personally? In 2009, when the Covenant of Mayors was launched, I was already a city councillor in Budapest. And Budapest was one of the first to join the Covenant, to join this movement, because Budapest is and always been a city that is cutting a path in an innovative city to cut new paths for others to follow. But that's not only what we do, local leaders and local authorities. We are not just innovators, but very important reserves of democracies. And if we really need reserves somewhere, we really need reserves of democracies in Europe. But throughout the Covenant of Mayors initiative, I also joined European politics in the Committee of the Regions. Now I'm president of the Committee of the Regions, but when I started, that was the first file I worked with. It was on the future of the Covenant of Mayors, and it's already been 10 years, and the Covenant of Mayors is still alive, and not just alive, but thriving. And we, in the Committee of the Regions, we will invest more energy to it become a bigger movement. We have our ambassadors, I'm one of the ambassadors, and we will invest a lot in that. But as I said, it's also beautiful symbolically. Why? Because here, we, local leaders, we are aiming high and voluntarily shouldering as much responsibility as we can carry. Because this is not just only about climate goals. This is also about community. Because it's not just our citizens that want to belong. We politicians also are humans, and we want to belong to. And when we come together here in the Covenant of Mayors or in the Committee of the Regions, we form a support group. We share our good stories, and we share our difficult stories. We are really wired as humans to each other's survival stories. And I call it survival stories because we are crisis and change managers. And change management is very hard. The uncertainty in the world is growing, and our people feel that they run as fast as they can just to stay in one place. We learn from the bad stories that it takes time to do things quickly. And we also learned that it is very expensive to do things cheaply. And what we also know is that our people love the concept of green and greening, but the realities are very difficult to face. A few days ago, Monday, we opened the Week of Cities and Regions with President Roberta Metsola, and I was talking about the energy crisis because the energy is one of the most important pillars of the Covenant of Mayors, our goals on energy. But there is a dual energy crisis. One, we know, it manifests in the high energy prices, in the CO2 emissions, in the grid congestions, in the blackouts. But there is another crisis. And it is a social energy crisis that comes from the acceleration, that is coming from burning our social energies, and it manifests in polarization, in a growing distrust, in apathy, and the weakening of democracy. there is a meaning crisis. And how does this connect to the Covenant of Mayors? Because it's about energy and meaning. Because how do we find meaning? Not just as leaders, not just as communities, but as persons. You find meaning by orienting yourself to point at the highest possible good that you can imagine, and then find a path and carry as much weight on your shoulders that you can carry. Because meaning is never about comfort. It's found in the weight of willingly carry. And this is the voluntarily part of the Covenant of Mayors. Because when you decide to care for something that is fragile and complicated, your neighborhood, your community, you create meaning out of suffering. And that meaning protects you from despair. And it protects your people from cynicism. Because what is the message? The message is that this place matters, that these people matters. This is what we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President Tüttő, for those inspiring words from the Committee of the Regions.